Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's having an awesome existence. This is Enlightened Living, Truth and Oneness discussions with a Scorpio and an Aquarius, where we just find random stuff to talk about, and we talk about random stuff on this channel. So, if you're not into that, you might want to not listen to. But so here's what we came across recently. So there's a channel which I think I always covered before on our YouTube channel. It's called Giving Voice to the Wisdom of the Ages. I believe that's the channel name. They put a book up, an audio book basically, recently up, um, and the book. Wow, I'll put it in the link. I'll put the link for this into the description box, and obviously yeah, it's obviously a book where you can find and read it, but it's also on audiobooks and on multiple different YouTube channels. I was noticing too. But so volume one of this book, and the book is called, I believe it's called "The Teachings of the Masters from the Masters of the East," something like that. So this book was interesting, and it's the first volume that's up on this guy's particular channel. And anyone obviously can search around for like I said, the hard copy or other YouTube channels to find the rest of the book or whatever. But anyway, so this book is interesting. So it's about a group of people, from what I gather. Was I really listening? All right. In the it was like the mid to late 1800s, I think, that went to the east. And I don't know exactly where they started, but it was some part of I know they were up around the Himalayan area, so they were in that region, but they went with a group, and they had the what do you call them, leaders of the group, the guides or what, I don't know. I need to listen to the beginning part of the book, but anyway, so these four guys that are with them are the masters basically, and they're showing them basically how human beings have been underusing their powers as entities or human beings basically in this earth realm, or really in existence in general. But basically these four guys that they are following are taking them across the Himalayas and to different certain points where they go to different towns to heal people and do other things. I'm not sure I'm giving a good summary here. But basically they show these guys how to, or these four dudes can teleport, uh, walk on water. They can manifest food right in front of their faces, and what else? Here, let me let you talk.
So pretty much what they're doing is showing people things that you're told pretty much from a young age throughout your life that you cannot do. They're showing you that you can do it. Like they challenge pretty much every kind of rule or law or like idea that is supposed to be absolute. They challenge it, break it, bend it in any way.
Well, I don't even know if they're challenging it, because in the book they say
Or
several
they never
times.
even learned it.
No, they say in the book that this is like the natural thing that you should be able to do as a human being. You should be able to do these things. And so, growing up as a human, we're taught that we can't do these things, and basically taught science and all this other kind of stuff that kind of keeps us away from this part of life that we can. So we can't exercise this muscle basically, but from their teachings, like this is like a natural, normal thing that every human being should be able to do.
Yes. Okay. So that is a better way to put it. Yeah, that is the way things are supposed to be. But we've been taught limitations when we don't need to. Like that's more a better way to go about what I was trying to say.
Let me say a caveat here. So I listened to the book. The Scorpio has not listened to it. So if we're going along and I'm like, wait, no, that's not what they were saying in the book. That's why. But we'll continue the discussion with that. Just in case it sounds like I'm interrupting a lot. I'll try not to though. But let's continue.
No, it's perfectly acceptable. So pretty much, what this is, it's kind of letting people see and know that a lot of the things that you think you cannot do, you actually can. A lot of this knowledge has been forgotten, but like what good thing is like as this book is being discovered and shared around is like people are starting to wake up to the fact that these things are realities, and that's kind of like where we're going now, like manifesting anything you and everything you want. But there's balance. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, they teach in the masters in the book are teaching how there's a balance to all of this. There's like a so they operate from the understanding that there's a universal law of like of abundance. So whatever you need is available, and it doesn't cause any lack in any other like area basically. And that's how they can manifest things like right onto their hand. Like they were showing, they were like feeding the group, and they were just like producing like all this food with no one cooking it. You know, the guy who's narrating the story mentioned several times like each time we went on these long treks, we never brought any food, but there was always food available from the masters. They would just like literally like kind of like here's a loaf of bread and kind of like that. Um, but so yeah, they operate from the understanding that there's abundance. Um, there's enough for everyone and everything, and um, but there has to be balance. Like you can't just because you can like do think of something stupid. I mean, silly to do. If you want to do something just silly just for yourself,
Oh, just
you
make
know,
like a pile of gold for yourself.
yeah, something like that maybe. I don't know, but you can't just do a ton, make a ton of it, and like be a rich person like on top of a hill. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you could do that, but
You could, but it's like it has to be balanced in some way. Like you can't just be like, all right, now all the gold is mine. I want this massive house. I want people to work and do everything for me, and life is gonna be great because everyone's gonna do everything for me. It's like there's a big influx. There's no balance to that because you're like affecting other people and affecting everything. So it has to be somewhere. There's gonna be a balance to that.
well, yeah, maybe like on a karmic level, you're affecting others or something like that. The guy gives an example of it in the book, and I can't remember what the example was, so I guess people would have to read or listen to the book to know. But basically, yeah, with balance and also with the understanding that everything is that you do and produce or do or manifest should be for the highest good, basically. Yeah, so there's that.
So, question for you: like you've read so far the first volume or like very first section. Did any of the travelers with the masters did they figure out how to use any of these powers that we have or these gifts that we got?
So not yet. So I've only listened. I didn't read it. Listened to the first volume of it, and so they spent I think a total of 3 or 4 years, 3.5 or 4 years with the masters, and so the first volume goes through the first year pretty much, and so far no. But in a way, kind of they've had some interesting experiences like toward the end of the first volume. They've started having like interesting, like at some point they were on this really tall like temple, and it looked like they were levitating at some point, um, walking on the air. And then there's a couple other things that they've seen a lot of interesting things, but they haven't been able to like tr- uh, do teleport basically yet, or they haven't been able to manifest stuff in their hands, food or whatever in their hands. Um, so they're still like really like surprised by these masters that are able to do this because they're like, how are you able to do this again? And the masters keep reminding them, we're doing this because we didn't um, yeah, we've known that we can do this, and so you have to develop these skills, and we're not any different than you are. Every human being on this planet is able to do this. And they do talk about, which is interesting, because they go to these different towns to heal people of like certain ailments. So they see them healing, instantaneously healing like people that can't walk and like other diseases and whatnot. But they tell the group that they're with that the people that they heal, basically it comes from the healing comes from the understanding of the individual that's being healed, that like they have to believe they're doing it themselves basically, they're like almost like allowing the space where these people can heal themselves, because they say that the people they don't believe, then they're not able to be healed, or they are healed and it doesn't last very long, so people go back to their ways. It's almost like you have to raise their consciousness up to this frequency where they're healed, and then after a certain time they can either go back down and their ailments return, or they continue on basically. And I think some of the people from the villages that they healed join their group or their travels as healed people. But that was another important thing that they brought up, that people um, they kept saying that you can't be lazy about it basically. And you also have to understand, you have to have that deep understanding and knowing that you are this universal source, God energy, the God consciousness is in you, and that is how you can do these things, because the God consciousness, or the source consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, is something that creates and manifests and can do pretty much anything, and it's in everything, and it's in you too. So you have to understand that, and that's the place that you operate from.
It is pretty interesting. It's like that's one of the things like I learned about Reiki also. It's like and like other kinds of healing modalities. It's unless the person wants it, or like in hypnotherapy, it's like unless the person wants it and is willing to accept it and understand it, like you can heal them all day long, and it's kind of just like a superficial healing, and it doesn't really go very far. But if they truly believe it or they want it, it's like they can do amazing things, like heal pretty much anything. Like there's people that quit smoking in like 2 days versus like people that spend years and years and
Talking
years.
about with
Yeah,
hypnotherapy.
hypnotherapy and Reiki and all that kind of stuff like that. It's like this. It's a very simplistic form of what people are doing in the book, but it's like it shows that how that works. Also, it's like even now with Reiki and stuff, it's like if people are willing to accept it, you can actually have them heal themselves, but they think you're healing them, but they have to be like wanting to accept it.
So it's like the healer basically just opens up the space, and gives sort of like the space and the frequency and the level of consciousness, I guess, so that the person who needs to be healed can, what do you call it, attach to that frequency or raise their level up to that,
Mm-hmm.
and but they also inside have to deeply understand that they are capable of this, and that they want it also. Otherwise,
Yes.
it can't happen. So it's all about belief. What it comes down to,
Mm-hmm.
it's like. Your belief is your reality. You manifest your reality based on your belief system.
Yeah.
And if you believe that you can heal or you can be healed, you can do these things. If you believe that, so this means really that if you believe you can walk on water and you can levitate and like teleport, you can do these things. According to this book, that's the truth. And I guess at this point, this actually goes back to that video we did on Martin Kinney's recent one, where he talks about how we went two separate ways, and we're at a place now where our frequencies should be a lot higher, but they're lower because we went like the technology route.
Mm.
And it's almost like, yeah, we're a little bit behind because obviously most of us haven't been doing these things, so we have that against us. So we have to work this muscle of being able to manifest and teleport and all this stuff. But also, maybe our frequencies are a little low also, because we haven't been in that space of elevated frequency. So we had to bring our frequency up, and then we have to also practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting though. It's a very interesting book. I definitely think people should read it or find it on YouTube somewhere.
Like me.
Or have someone listen to it and tell you about it. Um, but I know there's a couple other things in the book that were really interesting too. But yeah, that's an
Oh,
important.
because I remember some of the things you're talking about for like the traveling, like how they came into a village, but one of the masters was like the body was already there or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, so yeah, they have this ability because when they teleport, they can leave their body, but they can manifest like a replica, basically, of their body. And so what they often did, these masters, what they would protect cities from invaders by laying their body down because this the high frequency and high conscious level that they're operating from is enough to protect like a village of people from like getting attacked. And so what they would do a lot of times would just lay their body down like in the woods somewhere near the village, and then they would come out of their body and make a replica of their body basically, and leave their body there to protect the village pretty much. So it's just the energy of their body that was there to protect. And so on one of these treks, the group went to a village, and one of the masters went off in the woods, and his body got up, and then this is the narrator of the story telling this, and they're like, and we saw him stand up, and we saw it was the same person, and then the guy that was with us disappeared, and then the guy that was laying down in the forest came with us, and then like nothing happened. And we're like, and we could see from the body that was laying in the forest that it was there for a long time because the hair had like gone really, it was grown really long, and he mentioned something about a bird making a bird's nest in his hair, so it had been there for quite some time. Um, so that was interesting. I mean, so that's another interesting thing that these people can do. And then they also mentioned that the ages of these people. So these people have learned this ability of being able to preserve the body. Also, that's another important thing they talk about, which is something that all humans can do or should be able to learn how to do. You have to raise your consciousness to a certain level to be able to do this. But so one of the guys here, I'm gonna just say some numbers that are in general about the age of these people. Don't quote me, but they're pretty close. So one of the guy was, I think they said a couple of thousand years old. His body was. One was like 500. The other guy was like 700, and then one was like 200 or something like that. So something along there. So basically, these people are able to preserve, yeah, their physical bodies, and they don't age. They said all the guys look like they're around anywhere between 30 and 40 years old. And yeah, they basically their physical bodies don't age because they and what I think what they said, the reasoning behind this was that the masters were saying that, well, I mean, just like you look at like they use the example of like the banyan tree, or how this tree keeps producing, it doesn't ever die. I mean, just like you as a baby, you can produce cells, and I know you get to a certain point, and then you start getting old. That's a learned thing. That's something we've programmed our bodies into thinking that we're supposed to do. And just as much as we can program our bodies to think we're supposed to do that, we can go the other direction as well. So that was actually really interesting too.
That is pretty interesting. Another thing I remember you mentioning too, it's like it's not like it's only like men that are doing this. Like there's ladies that were masters also. Like a lot of teachings or a lot of things people always like to assume it's like only men can do this kind of thing. They're the masters, but like there's actually women masters too. So there's anyone can do this. It's not just like a select group. It's just something that we need to all kind of figure out how to do again.
Yeah, definitely it helps if you have a family member that can do this. I think because it does get genetic. Because our DNA, what I've been learning, obviously, is like what I've been learning along the way. Also, I meant to say, our DNA holds a lot of information from our past lives or alternate lives, whatever you want to call it, and it holds some of those programs too. Of you're supposed to get old, but we can reprogram ourselves. Um, but so if you have a genetic family member that can do these things, and that DNA is in you. But also, what's interesting, if you even have lived a past life, quote, past life, where you've been able to do this, and chances are most of us probably have, I would
Yeah,
think,
then it's inside
then
of
it's
you.
in you. So the information is within you to awaken. But still, with that being said, everyone can do this to some degree. But yeah, so they talked about one of the guy's mother. They went to visit her at a temple, at some village, and they had some kind of celebration or whatever. And then there was another woman who had a son and a daughter that was there, or something like that. Someone, I don't remember the details, but basically, yeah, there's women that do this too. And the guy's mother, the master's mother, she stays at one of the higher realms and operates from that place, and just comes down a few times a year to the earth plane to visit because she's very busy at the higher realms doing business and or doing some kind of work. Um, but it was, yeah, that's interesting. Um, that, yeah, we can all do this basically. And then they did mention too, another thing I want to mention is like, they were talking about how, some places where they go, depending on like the consciousness of the people around them, some people may not even be able to see them, or they can raise their consciousness up to a level where people, they're invisible basically.
Mm.
So that goes into sort of like the different, um, not, I don't want to say dimensions. I don't even know what to, but like within this Earth setting here, there's different planes of existence, I guess you could say. And depending on which level of energy or consciousness you're at, you may be able to see through a certain plane, and you can't see the others, but they're right there, all in the same room with each other, but you can't see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, just depending on where your frequency is at.
And it kind of reminds me of some of like the explorers trying to find like lost cities, like ancient temples and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's like when you think about it, it's like a lot of these places like had super high frequencies, and a lot of these people, even quote unquote adventurers or explorers, only really wanted to go there to pillage them, but they can never find them.
Yeah, they're in a completely different, on a different
Yeah.
plane or frequency or something. Yeah.
It's like sitting there right in front of them. They probably even sometimes just walk right through it and they don't even realize it because they don't have that vibration to even recognize the city in itself or the
They
people.
can't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like
It's
it's
just in another.
a different frequency.
Yeah.
They can't like match.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
Or they
pretty
can't.
interesting.
They haven't been. I was gonna say something. Oh yeah. So I had an experience similar to this, when I was in India, um, learning. um, at the temple, or during one of the temples, they did some kind of, meditation where we were raising our frequency or something like that. And after this meditation, I remember we all went to sit down to eat, and I could literally hear, there was my table, and I could hear the people around us, eating and doing their things. But then I could hear almost like right behind me, there's like a whole nother like conversation, going on, and I could feel the presence of um, like other people in the room that weren't there. So I don't. It's kind of a hard one to explain because like there was other people in the room. The room was full of people, eating. But you know how you can hear the people in the room,
Mhm.
but then like right in my ear, almost I could hear and feel the presence of like this whole nother room full of people
That's
talking and just
interesting.
socializing and stuff. And it was really weird. It was like the weirdest thing because it was like, because I was sitting there and it was almost like not quite having like an out of body experience, but like, the sense of it kind of, I think, maybe throws you off guard a little bit. So you kind of feel like the dizzy, maybe not quite dizzy, but like, weightlessness. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if I should waste time trying to explain this to people. Basically, I think I had a somewhat, similar, or at least experience of where you can kind of start tapping into other dimensions or planes of existence, or whatever you want. I don't even know what the proper technical
Oh
term
yeah.
is. um, that's really interesting because also I noticed recently with us over the past like month, I would say, because you know how they say, well, at least I've heard this before, that if you are experiencing like, it's not dizziness, but like not even really vertical, but it's like some kind of like, um let's call it some ascension symptoms. Because you're not sick. You don't feel sick, but you notice there's something different with your environment, like something shifting in your environment. I noticed this recently, um, where I would feel not like dizzy, but like if you stand still, you can almost, not the room spinning necessarily, but something similar. That'd probably be the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
but not quite like this. Like you can feel like the room spinning or like um, uh, slight dizziness or something along those lines. And it's like inside you kind of know what it is because I kind of got the feeling that wow, there. I think I'm like shifting between dimensions here or something, or like I don't know what you would say about that.
I pretty much agree with that. It's like there's times where it's like you're like you'd be standing there and you're like,
Recently.
yeah, recently, and you're like, whoa. I don't feel like I have a headache. I don't feel like I'm sick or anything like that. But I definitely feel like something's moving around me, and you can't really, besides saying you're dizzy, like, because we don't really have words for it that we know how to describe the sensation. Besides, like, I guess essentially symptoms, like you said, like, it's like you can't really describe like the way it feels because you're like, this doesn't feel normal, quote unquote, but it's I don't feel bad or anything. It's just like it's a strange sensation, and don't really know how to take it at the moment. But you definitely feel things are different, and overall, like with these things changing, it's like we've become like more positive. We've been welcoming much more things in our life,
Well, what things changing?
like you just made me lose my train of thought.
Oh, sorry.
Um, but it's like it seems kind of like our like being able to manifest or change things or even like stay positive, like raising our vibrational whole
Conscious level.
consciousness. It's like it seems like it's becoming more like a natural thing because it's like we weren't like intentionally like we're gonna meditate all day today and then tomorrow we're gonna be like yeah no it was just like overall it was just happening because we're like welcoming it and it's like it keeps changing. I don't know how to explain it further than that.
I think what you're saying is that going back to the world is definitely changing, and we feel it in ourselves too. And it's kind of like the ride with it thing, and kind of go with the flow, but keep operating. The more we've been sort of reminding ourselves to operate at a even just a place of like this universal kind of like love, or I don't know what you really want to call that, but at this higher
Yeah.
um, energy or something. It kind of like you go up there and then you kind of start to naturally go up to that space, and then things start happening and changing that you notice are all around you.
Yeah.
Um, and it's happening very quickly too. Like it's the things that we're noticing are becoming more and more. Let me put it that way, I guess. um, but yeah, let me see if I can think of anything in more that was interesting about the book. Any specific points? I think the main thing, obviously, is that this is what we can do. Actually, it brings me back to the alien interview book with Ariel. I thought she mentioned that because I remember in that book she mentioned that the human body can live to like at most 150 years, and then she was talking about how frail it is and whatever. But like even from her perspective, as an alien has a robot body, or a doll body or whatever you want to call it, looking into the human, and she did say she wasn't very familiar with this planet too. So there's probably some things she didn't really know.
It's probably just going based on like the research that they've done over the time that they've been around. So yeah, it's probably like yeah, I've seen it get to like 150 based on the subjects I was like watching, but there's ones that she probably didn't see.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I was just trying to like tie it all back into everything else we've been like researching, and I guess from her perspective, she has seen this place a few times and then got stuck here for like a minute, and it's just like yeah, as far as I know, you only live to like 60. But you have the ability to live up to 150, but because you're allowing yourself to get screwed over, you die. You all die before like 60 or
yeah,
whatever. But but yeah, that was interesting just to bring that in because I was thinking about it. But anyway, if anyone doesn't know who Ariel is, she's an alien. Okay. All right. Any other thing? Oh yeah. So we have the ability, in summary, are we ready to summarize? Do you have any
Yeah.
other interesting things to bring up? We as human beings have the ability to do everything that we are made from. We're made from this infinite source, creative force. We're that energy is in us. It's in our DNA, and from that we can. And we're not. It's not that we can, but we're meant to do this. It's not like, um, oh, we're playing around magic or whatever. Whatever, blah blah blah. No, we're meant to be able to do these things. We're meant to be able to. I mean, I don't know exactly because it's gonna sound silly when I start reading it off. We're meant to be able to levitate, to walk on water, to manifest food or whatever, to fly, to teleport, to go to different dimensions. Okay, and the important thing though, it's in us now. We do have to do some frequency work because of the fact that we have been kind of stuck at a lower frequency for who knows how long. But it's in our DNA. It's in the information that's within us, and even if we don't think it is, we can connect to that higher consciousness, the infinite God source energy. We can connect to that um, and raise our frequency up to that, and be able to do these things. So I guess the thing is, why do we want to do all this stuff? Why would we? Like, why? What's the point of being able to fly and teleport and do magic and all that kind of stuff? Oh, and make sure, though, yes, we can do these things operating from a space of universal abundance and oneness and universal, balance, love, that kind of space. That's what we're meant to do with that connection with everything, not just like I'm gonna take from this
Yeah.
because I can now. That's not the point. But so why would we want to do this though? I think we talked about this a tiny bit the other day. Why do we want to, like, if we could just manifest a bowl of cereal right here in front of me? Why do I want to get up and make the bowl of cereal? I don't know. What do you think?
I think in time, like how a lot of these people like are have very long lives. It's like it gets to the point where it's like, oh, you're like, okay, you get to these points where you're like, okay, I can now like teleport to any place I want to. But like if you're just doing it for your own self gain, like it's cold out, I want to go to Jamaica and be like in a nice hotel on the beach or like in a
But no
mansion.
one's saying you can't do that
Yeah,
though.
no,
But
no one's saying you can't do that, but it's like that's not really the highest frequency when you think about it. It's like it's like okay, you did that for yourself. Now what? It's like these people are like teleporting and transferring themselves or like going to places to help protect people, to heal people. They're not doing this stuff for their own like kind of gain.
But I'm sure if they wanted to just go to like a
Yeah.
beach for the weekend, I'm sure that wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be okay to do. I don't know.
I mean,
But the beach.
it probably is an okay thing to do, but it's like as you can see, these people are like their goal is to go around just like helping people. They're not like okay, today I'm gonna have like this 25 course meal and stay in this mansion because I feel like doing it. They're like, okay, I'm going to be traveling probably like 300 miles today to get to this village to make sure they're okay, protect them, and also like heal them. We're going to eat, we're going to enjoy ourselves, and we're going to continue on.
Well, I feel like now you're saying that it should be all about work though, which I don't think that's the point of it
I don't think
either.
it's work to them.
I know, but I'm saying that you should be able to use these powers for enjoyment because I also think at least I have the idea that when you're enjoying yourself and you're playing around with these powers or having fun, then that's a good thing too. Because that energy, I think, is good energy to
Yes.
align with. I think, like, I'm not. It's not. You're almost making it sound like, well, if you're gonna be doing this, you gotta get to work now, and like. You're supposed to be helping people and do this, and then that's gonna be like, okay, well now I'm gonna feel guilty because I want to like manifest a bowl of jelly beans here and eat them. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's going to be like to that extent. I think it's more along the lines of, because like, okay, I want to enjoy myself. Like, I think your mental space will be in like your frequency is going to be so different that you're not going to be like I want a bowl of jelly beans.
I think you missed my point.
Oh.
Okay, what I'm saying is that I think that we're meant to enjoy ourselves, but not like in a greedy, maybe selfish way, but that doesn't mean you can't like go to a beach for the weekend and enjoy walking on the beach. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
At least that's what I feel like really deeply, like on the inside. That like if we have these powers, we can use them and enjoy, using them and traveling and doing what we want and what makes us happy. You know what I mean? But there's some kind of like energy flow that we should be staying in line with while we're doing these things. And yes, we should be, because it's all about balance and oneness and whatnot. And obviously, we come across someone that needs help, we help them. But it's not about now we need to hit the the gravel, we hit the whatever and get to work sort of thing. So I think you're wrong there.
Okay.
That's basically what I'm trying to say. I don't think you're right there. But what I was trying to ask is that if you have all these powers and sort of what's the point? Then everything becomes like so easy. Then what's the point of like? Does it get boring? It's kind of like goes back to again what Ariel was saying. That this, I guess we can bring it all back to this point that this Earth plane that we're on right now and this time that we're at is the way it is because maybe at some point, obviously existence, the isbies, the entities of human soul got sort of bored with, being able to play around with these powers. And so we created a plane of existence where we were limited. We had to work our way back up to using these powers, and that's kind of the place that we're at now. Humanity, we're at the place where now we're starting to wake up to again to, and there's little pockets of people here and there in civilizations on this earth plane that maybe never forgot about these powers and have always been able to use them, so that other people can see that these powers can be used and this is possible. So they're here as like teachers to show us that okay, yeah. And so for them it's interesting because they're teaching and showing us, and they have to hide so they don't get like chased down by villagers or like, oh my gosh, these people know magic. And then for the people that don't know, their souls, this is interesting for us because we're relearning all this stuff, and being able to manifest or get to that level of being able to use these powers again. So I'm from the idea that this is all kind of not really a big game, but a big experience to make existence interesting, and this is part of it. We're in the relearning, awakening again, moving back towards source consciousness and energy, and being able to understand again that wow, we can actually do all these things as in this human form. Also, what this is interesting, and so yeah, I guess it's just exercising that muscle, getting back in the gym, I guess, huh? That's what makes it interesting.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess I can accept your. It's supposed to be for fun too, but I think at first people kind of just need to learn it for helping, and then they can use it for fun.
What if they're not meant to help, though? Some people are literally here just to enjoy themselves, and it depends on the individual.
Yeah, I'd say it depends on the individual, because like certain people's fun is definitely not fun for other people, like especially when like it depends on their term fun. So yeah, but that vibrational level obviously is not going to be matching for using these abilities. So
well, that's not what I meant either, but I see what you're saying, but I think yeah, sure. What I said before.
okay. That about wraps it up on my end. Anything you'd like to add?
No, just everyone just kind of realize where you're at and where you want to go and where you want to go and where you know you can go and go there. Right?
I like that.
Awesome. Everyone have a great one and peace out.
Oh yeah.